What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel where I teach you everything you need to know about accounting, audit, the CPA lifestyle, and everything in between. If that sounds awesome to you, make sure to hit that subscribe button below, and welcome to the accounting channel. All right, guys, today it's gonna be story time today. I'm gonna tell you guys a story of when I got laid off. I know the title seems a little bit clickbaity, but I actually did get laid off from my job. Not recently, but obviously a few years ago when I was in college. So I was about 18 years old when I got laid off from my job at Marshall's. So I ended up, my first job ever was a job. It's funny, I'm telling the story. Was a job. It's like, I'm like remembering, I can literally vividly remember everything from hopefully you get some value from this video. If you don't, I don't know if you find much value from this video. I just kind of wanted to put things in perspective for some people that are maybe going through a tough time or going through a layoff or whatever the case may be. I just kind of wanted to give you my perspective on certain things and give you my story. So in college, I had my first job at Marshall's, and it was a great job. I loved it. I mean, I was doing the best I could. I was organizing the shoes, and I thought I was a really good employee. But I had taken the job as a seasonal job. So, not even back then, but as you guys know, during the holidays, things get really busy. So from November to like the end of January, I worked at Marshall's, and I thought I was doing a great job and everything was going really well. I was making some pretty good money. I mean, if $675 was good money for me, back then. And I was making some good money, going to school and doing my thing. But what ended up happening was I go into work one day and I go look at the schedule. So we had a break room, and then they put the schedule on top, and then you kind of had your schedule a month in advance. So like they would make a schedule and they'd have the schedule laid out for a month going forward. And I looked for my name and it wasn't on the schedule. I was like, what the heck? This must be a mistake. Like I work, like I'm here to work. Like why am I not on the schedule? So I go talk to my manager at the time, some lady, I don't even remember her name, but she had essentially told me, Bryan, unfortunately, we have to let you go. No warning, no nothing. It was literally just like, here's your last paycheck. Yeah, good luck. And honestly, at that time, I mean, Marshall's was my only source of income. Like I didn't have anything else going for me. I didn't have some accounting skill. I was just some kid in college, and thankfully I did live at home, but I kind of just got laid off. And honestly, I remember I went to the bank like a mile away. It was like literally right there. And I remember depositing my last check, which was like, I don't know, $100 or something, literally $100. And I remember feeling like my whole life was over. I felt like everything I had worked for was like done, and my life was just going to be in shambles. And even like when I tell the story now, I those feelings come back to me in a sense of, I felt just completely lost, and I kind of felt like a loser at the time because I didn't really get into any big schools. I had to go to a community college, which obviously ended up being a huge blessing in my life. But at the time, I felt like my life was over. I literally felt like I was done. Like I'm like, dude, what am I gonna do for money? Like I think I had like a little. Did I have a car payment? I forgot what bills I had at the time, but it wasn't much. But I still needed something to live. And this was during the time when it was my first year in college. So this was 2009. And obviously, if you guys remember 08, 09, the big recession, the Great Recession, jobs weren't that easy to come by. So I was super scared, man. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And I did have a girlfriend at the time, and I was like, man, she's probably gonna leave me. Like, I don't know. It was just a lot to take in at the time, and I didn't have anything to fall back on. And I remember going home and like, I literally cried with my parents, man. I'm like, oh my gosh, like my life is over. I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is like, I don't know. Like this job was perfect. It helped me with school. Like I had to rearrange my whole life, and I know it doesn't sound like a big thing, because it was just a retail job, but it was my life at the time. I was building a skill. I was trying to build something for myself, and this kind of just got taken away from me. But looking back now, I had faith, and I kind of took a step back, and I said, okay, well, I can either sit here, cry about it, and just kind of, I don't know, wallow in my misery, or I can literally just, screw it, get back out there and let's do it. So I started applying at like all these jobs, and finally I kind of bit the bullet and I worked at McDonald's. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I worked at McDonald's. So I worked at McDonald's it was about a month. And I was really enjoying it. Like I was, even thinking back now, and this was back then when even social media wasn't as big of a thing, but It sucks that, and it's funny how while I tell the story, like all the feelings are coming back to me. But during this time, social media wasn't even that big, and a part of me felt like a little embarrassed because I worked there. And that really sucked, honestly. It really messed with my confidence because I thought, well, at Marshalls, I was wearing like cool clothes to work, and I was like, it was like there was people that come in, and I was like working retail, and that was like a job. That job was like a little more cool at the time, and I thought McDonald's was, and it's unfortunate that we do this in our society nowadays, or just people kind of frown or look down upon service workers, especially like if you take a typical McDonald's job or some fast food job. But I kind of put my pride aside and I said, hey, I need a job. Like I need to work. I don't want to just live off my parents. Like I'm 18 years old now. I'm a grown man, and I ended up taking the job at McDonald's, and it was a very humbling experience for me, and I'll never forget that month because I put my pride aside, and then even when girls would ask me or my friends would ask me like, oh, where are you working at now, and I reluctantly would say like, oh, I'm working at McDonald's, and they'd kind of laugh and stuff. And honestly, that really sucked. That was a really bad feeling. Maybe that's why nowadays I have such a huge amount of respect for people that do fast food jobs, because a lot of those people are just trying to get on their feet, and they're just trying to transition maybe potentially into something better for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I have the utmost respect for people that want to better themselves, because I was at that point in my life too. But thankfully, I ended up taking the McDonald's job. I freaking, put my pride aside. I didn't really care. I needed a job. I needed to make money. I needed to support myself at the time. And I ended up taking this job, and it was going really well. I mean, I was starting to just kill it. I was doing great. I was like, my bosses were really liking my work, and I was like making the hamburgers and working the register and cleaning up, and the job was like down the street from my parents' house, so it was going great. Life was good. I mean, I was happy again. I mean, it only took me like 2-3 days to find another job, because I just, instead of wallowing in my misery and saying, oh, I got laid off, poor me, boo-hoo, I got up and I said, you know what, I'm not above anything. I don't have any good skill really at the time. I'm not that valuable to the marketplace because I had just graduated high school. I didn't really know anything. So, I can't go expect to get this big paying job. So I know I can work a McDonald's job because it doesn't, take that much skill, to come in as entry level. So I thought, let's do it. So I ended up doing that. But it's funny, during this time also, Chipotle was getting like really popular at the time. This was 08, 09, so there wasn't a Chipotle at every corner during this time. So I ended up, my friend told me about this place called Chipotle, and I was like, oh, Chipotle, man, what the heck is that? So we ended up going to the Chipotle in Upland, California, which is kind of close to my parents' house, and I ended up going to Chipotle, and I'm like, man, this place is pretty cool. And like, I felt like the stigma towards Chipotle was a little better because it was like fast casual. So like more people went there for like cool lunches. And I'll be honest with you, I personally like the company more because of the food, and the quality of the food they have was, in my opinion, a lot better. And I would go, and like after my Friday workouts, I'd go get a burrito. And this was like literally that whole month. And I ended up going one time, and what ended up happening was, after like a month of working at McDonald's, I was like, man, Chipotle is like a little closer to my house. I kind of like the company a little better because the food that they serve is just more quality, and it looks like the people that come in are a little nicer, and like people are, it looks like a cool little environment that I want to be part of. So it's funny. Back then, I don't even think, did they have online applications? I didn't fill an online application. I literally, what happened was, I had a morning class at Chafee Community College, so I took my morning class, and then right before they opened, it was like 10 a.m. I was done with class in the morning. I drive to my nearest Chipotle, and I literally show up. I show up before they open, and I'm like the first one there, because I'm like, all right, if I can show up before anyone else is there, maybe I could get the manager's attention, and they'll hire me. So I end up doing that. I end up talking to the manager. I'm like, hey, I have some fast food experience. I've been in retail for a little bit. I'm a student. I'm a full-time student, but I'd love to get an opportunity to work here. And she ended up giving me the application. I filled it out. I talked to her, and thankfully by this time, maybe I was working 4 months at Marshalls and Chipotle, so like 4 or 5 months out of high school. And I felt pretty good. Like I had built my social skills, and honestly, even before that, I was like, on the soccer team in high school and all that stuff. So all this kind of led up to me having a good personality and good social skills, and being able to articulate my thoughts. And this is kind of how it all started. And thankfully, the interview went really well. I still showed up, dressed up and ready to go. And I ended up getting my Chipotle job, and that job literally carried me for 5 years through my whole undergrad. So that was 2008, 2009. 2009, I ended up having that job essentially from 2009 through June till June 14th, 2014, when I graduated college. And I will be forever thankful for that. But it's funny how, and I guess a lesson that I learned from looking back at my life and this experience is that, if I would have just kind of sat there and just waited around for another cool job or something else, I don't think I would have had a similar opportunity that I had at Chipotle or even working at McDonald's, because that humbled me in a way to think of myself as I want to learn, I want to develop myself, and maybe I could take this on. And, one thing I want to let maybe you're watching this job and maybe you're watching this video and you got laid off. One thing I will say that as terrible as things get at times in your life, and as hard as things get, this too shall pass. Everything I've gone through in my life, the pain essentially subsides and something else takes its place. And usually that's something better. Maybe you even get used to the pain, but 9 times out of 10, you usually come out on top because of the experience you had going through this. So all I can say is that if you are going through a layoff or a tough time in your life, or whatever the case may be, try to take a step back, humble yourself in a bit to think, okay, what can I do? What in my current situation, crying and sitting here and not doing nothing and not taking action is not going to help me. How can I assess the situation, whatever a situation you're in? How can I take a step forward and better myself? And that step forward doesn't need to be the end all be all. In my example, I got laid off and I took the first job I can find, which was McDonald's. And although it was a great opportunity, through that process of continuing to work hard and being confident in myself and having faith, I then found a job that ended up carrying me throughout my whole college career. That was super helpful. That worked with my schedule. That was close to my house, my parents' house, and it just helped me become the person I am today. So all I can say is that if you're going through a tough time, if you got laid off from your job, I know right now it's July 24th, 2022, and I know things are crazy, and the economy's not in the best shape it can be. But all I can say is no matter what happens, as long as you stay positive and you assess the situation and you do whatever is in your control to continue to move forward, I promise you good things will happen. All right, guys, it's going to be it for the video today. If you found value in this video, please make sure to smash the like button below. Until next time, work hard, dress well, peace.